Hi, Livia.
I'm sorry, I thought there was a problem.
No, I'm a
You
little
should go.
late as usual, about 5 minutes late. There is no problem. The problem is that I'm
Please do.
lazy. Let us sing in praise of the Lord and the Guru. Namo Akhandamandalakaram Vyaptam Yena Characharam Tatpadam Darshitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Guru Brahma Guru Vishnu Guru Devo Maheshwara Guru Sakshat Parabrahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Dhyanamoolam Guror Murti Pujamulam Guror Padam Mantramulam Guror Vakyam Mokshamulam Guror Kripam Brahmanandam Paramasukhadam Kevalam Jnanamurtim Dvandatitam Gaganasadrisham Tattvamashyadilakshayam Ekam Nityam Vimalamachalam Sarvada Sakshibhutam Bhavatitam Trigunarahitam Sadgurum Tam Namami Sadgurum Tam Smarami Sadgurum Tam Bhajami. This series of two-liners, four-liners describes the power of the Guru and also describes what he is. We could spend a little bit of time just to analyze one. The third one or the fourth one was Dhyana Moolam Guror Murti Puja Moolam Guror Padam Mantra Moolam Guror Vakyam Moksha Moolam Guror Kripa. Dhyana Moolam, the roots of Dhyan is meditation, is the Guru. Dhyana Moolam Guror Murti, his countenance, his appearance. And what is his appearance? His appearance is the Pranab, the Brahmakshar. If that is the Guru, then the next line says, Puja Moolam Guror Padam. Padam is feet. Where is the feet? This Pranab has no feet. So how can you do puja? Yes, you can. That Pranab you can achieve by doing controlled, regulated breathing, which is called pranayam. That is how you control or please the Guru. What does that do? How does it please the Guru? Pran, or life breath, is the one on which this pranab exits from one body and enters another. And that is how you continue in your journey through this world until you reach a stage where you are one with him, and thereafter you stop this endless cycle of death and birth and death and birth. So Dhyan Moolam Guror Murti Puja Moolam Guror Padam Mantra Moolam Guror Vakyam. Whatever the Guru says is the mantra. Whatever he says. Because what is mantra? Mantra is not simply a restricted single line word or single letter or a few lines. No. Mantra is that which, for mantra it is said, Mananata Trayate iti mantra. that on which if you meditate, it gives you solace, relief, eventually even salvation. That is what a mantra is. So, mantra moolam, no, the first line was Dhyan moolam guror murti, his appearance. Puja moolam guror padam. Padam is his feet, which is your breath. Mantra moolam guror vakyam. Moksha moolam guror kripa. Moksha is salvation. Salvation you will achieve only with the Guru's kripa. Kripa is mercy. But mercy, the word kripa has got two letters in it. One is kri, the second is pa. Kri is activity, you do. And then pa is you get rewarded. So kripa means you have to, actually exert yourself bodily, mentally, everything. So that is these are the deep meanings in each of these shlokas, and there are many. There's a whole lot of them. And we must understand this. If we really want to reach somewhere, we need to understand what we are saying. Mantrartham mantra chaitanyam yoni mudram vettiya satakoti japena yena tasya siddhir na labhyate. If you don't know the meaning of the mantra, if you have not received the mantra from the true Guru, who has been authorized by his Guru, and so on, there's a chain of gurus, ultimately leading to the Almighty God. This comes directly from him. So, mantra artham, mantra chaitanyam, yoni mudram vettiya. If you don't know a type of kriya, then even if you repeat that for 100,000 times or 100 crore times, you will achieve nothing. So, which is why whatever we say, whatever we do, has a purpose, has a meaning, has a feeling, has an emotion attached to it. We need to know all of those and thereby hit the trail in the right direction. Good evening to everybody. Who all are? Okay, Runa the only. The other lady is not here. Okay, doesn't matter. Let us start.
Livia is here.
Yeah, I just talked to Livia, yes. Yeah. Did you hear the explanation of the stuti of Guru? Dhyana moolam gurur murti, puja moolam gurur padam, mantra moolam gurur vakyam, moksha moolam gurur kripa. Runadi, I am talking to you. Did you hear that? Okay. Fair enough. So first we try and read shlok number 9, chapter 4, Gyan Yoga. Then we move on as far as we can. Yeah. Janma karma ch me divyam evam yo vitti tattvata tyaktva deham punarjanma naiti mameti suarjunam. Lord says, if you get to know in all its aspects my divine birth here is not a physical birth just like we humans have. This birth is, appearance or avataran. And my divine activities when I am here on the earth, how I give salvation to the sadhus, and I punish the wrongdoers and stuff like that. So he says, those who know this, vetti means to know. Tattvata is reality, in all its reality. Such a person who knows all of these, tyaktva deham punarjanmam nati maimeti sarjuna. Such a person, when he finally departs his corporal body, reaches me and is absorbed away me, he doesn't get reborn again. This is what this shlok says. Lahiri Mahasaya explains this in a line and a half. He's very economical with his words. He doesn't speak too much. He doesn't have time. He's always immersed in his Malik, his Kriya, his wherever. So he says, Larry Marshall's explanation is, my janma is birth, and my karma, my activities, are like the sky. Very few people can know it. But those who do and practice Kriya Yoga, they do not get sucked into the cycle of rebirth. That's Larry Marshall. Now, everybody can't be economical with his words. We have a scholar, one of the best that I have known, Brahma Rishi Sanyal Maharshi. Sanyal Maharshi was the principal and the Sanskrit teacher and the hostel in charge of Rabindranath's Vishwa Bharati University, Shanti Niketan. This is from 1903 to 1910, 7 years. And during this period, Rabindranath was so infatuated with him and his knowledge that he asked him to be his guru. And he consented on the condition that Rabindranath will, during his lifetime, never reveal that he has a guru. And then Rabindranath said, why do you impose such a condition? He said, very simple. You are world famous. When people know that I am your guru, they'll come and poke me every now and then. I don't want such. I can live without such disturbances and, So, please, for God's sake, don't ever disclose that I'm your guru. And that's what happened, which is why people don't know about it. But in the archives in Vishwa Bharati University, there is a whole correspondence, letters from each side, from Rabindranath and Sanyal Maharshi. And so, we are blessed by having the book written by Gita, written by Sanyal Maharshi, which expands on the economical thoughts and words of Larry Baba. Larry Maharshi is, if there is anything close to God, he is the one. If there is anything close to God, and while being a huge scholar, a graceful person, it is Sanyal Baba. So if you have such wonderful personalities helping us to understand what the Gita says, what more can we ask? So let us see what Sanyal Maharshi says. He says, Larry Maharshi has mentioned the word Akash. Akash is sky. You know, there are the clouds and winds and all that keep changing forms and shapes of the clouds in the sky. And during sunset and the twilight in the evening and sunrise in the morning, you get to see so many colors in so many different layers. But what are these? Is the sky changing? No. We see illusions or effects of the light changing its angle of incidence on the sky. The clouds changing its shape due to the wind. Because you cannot attach the sky to any object. You know, even if there's a war and there's a huge nuclear bomb explosion, that will also wash away from the sky over a period of time. So the sky cannot be polluted, cannot be attached to anything. Similarly is God. No matter what you do, you cannot impact or affect Him. Thereby, what possible activity or, will the sky have? God does not have anything. See, I'll go back to a question that when I met Sanyal Baba's Shishya, my Param Guru, Tiwari Baba in Bhagalpur, in Bihar, I was not at all impressed. Because these people don't show off. They keep themselves, submissive, very, they propose that they are very insignificant when they are a bundle of enormous power. So that is what Tiwari Baba did to me as well. And he was talking to somebody. No, first thing first, I was not sitting because the carpet and the dari and the chatai were all a little dirty from use. And I was wearing nice clothes and I didn't want to sully my clothes. So Baba said, sit down. And I said, no, I'm fine, Baba, don't worry about me. Antaryami, God Himself, He knows me from inside better than me. So he called out to his Shishya. I think I've said this before also, but doesn't matter. As many times as you... Oh, I haven't. Okay. So he called out to Manormadi, who was senior disciple of Tiwari Baba, who was very senior even to my guru, and to this gentleman, Murli Baba of Odisha. And she said, Oh Manorma, this is Tiwari Baba speaking. अरे हरि का जमाई है, माय फादर इन लॉ, सॉरी, हरि का जमाई है, जमीन में कहां बैठाओगी, उसको कुर्सी ला के दो. सो मनोरमा दी गॉट अ चेयर फॉर मी, एंड इट वॉज दैट फोल्डिंग टाइप ऑफ चेयर विच Godrej used to make, green seat and white background, and she opened it for me and put it next to Tiwari Baba, and I sat there in grace, and I graced the occasion. What a brilliant man I am. I'm sitting next to Tiwari Baba. And, oh my God, my ego knew no bounds. I didn't know who I was dealing with. And then he said some things. And my father-in-law sitting on the ground. So is my mother-in-law. And a huge number of these senior gurus, they're all sitting on the ground. I am sitting in my majesty next to my Param Guru. Okay, so then people asked him questions, he replied to them, it was going on. This used to happen it happens with all the gurus. They normally meet in the evening, and this was an evening, this was at around 4:35. So my father-in-law whispered to me, you also ask him a few questions. I am fine. I didn't feel this man is going to be able to answer my questions. So I said, no, I'm fine. No, pucho. I said, no, I'm fine, thank you, don't worry. But he kept prodding me. So, Tiwari Baba made a statement a little while ago, which I slightly registered in my brain. He said, unless God desires, nothing in the earth moves. Fair enough. So, everything happens due to the wishes of the Almighty. Fine, that is one point registered. Then he came out and said, at a later time, about 10 minutes, 15 minutes, sometime later, he said, God has no desire. He has no need. He doesn't have to have any desire. I said, Pakra. I got him. Now I am going to confront him with this question. And I raised my hand and said, Baba, I have a little bit of a doubt. Mock humbleness I showed to him. Baba, I have a doubt. Can you help me solve it? He said, Boliye. And I said, Baba, about 5-10 minutes back you said, God, unless God wills something to happen, nothing is going to happen. And now you are saying he has no will, he has no desire, he doesn't want anything. But we know that the world is moving around, the world is active, everything is happening. If he has no desire, then how the world is functioning or even exists? And if he has desire, then your earlier statement is wrong. So please, let me get a clear understanding of what exactly is it that you're saying. I do remember that Tiwari Baba answered my question for about half an hour. And I don't remember a single word of what he said. Well, I knew that there's not going to be an answer to this. What an answer can he give? Once he says no desire, then he says full of desire. Where is the answer? And I told my Gurudev also this. I said, Baba, this is what I've done with your Guru, my Param Guru. He said, Acha, uni ki bolle? What did he say? I said, Baba, he said for half an hour, he said a few things. I don't remember a single word. Then after my Diksha, I was sent by him to Mandar. And in Mandar, I went through a long session of about 15 hours of meditation. This is a special session. You cannot do it every other day. It has to be done once in a few months occasionally when you are fit. After that was over, I called him and he said, you go to Bhagalpur, Tiwari Baba's house, and you read Shlok 72 and 73 to him. This chapter 18, the last chapter of the Gita. Chapter 72 is, Shlok 72 is, O Arjun, Krishna is asking him, telling him, O Arjun, I have told you so many things over such a long period of time. You have heard me intently or not? Did you have your concentration intact or not? And did you understand what I said? I would like to hear from your mouth. Tell me. This is the question that Krishna asks Arjun. See, I am getting goosebumps. This is a fond memory of my foolishness and the grace of my Guru. Yeah, and then the next answer is from Arjun. Arjun says, I remember the words, Sthitosmi gata sandeha tat prasadan mayuchyata karishye tava vachan. O Lord, I stand bereft of any doubt, any deviation. By your grace, by your blessings, I shall henceforth do what you have told me to do. That is Kriya. So, my Gurudev, gracefully made me atone for my stupidness. And that's what a Guru is. He won't make you feel that you are being punished, but he will, get you on the right track no matter what. So here we are now talking about the activities of the Lord, and first about Avataran, or the birth of these divine people on the earth. He says your body, a human's body or an animal's body, is dependent directly on his karma in his last life. Whatever he has done, whatever kind of activities he has done, whatever kinds of mental thoughts he has got, mental beliefs that he has got, plus physical activities that he has done, they result into a body which will make him pay for his bad activities and will reward him for his good behavior. Both. It's not just punishment. It's punishment and reward. This is called bhog. Bhog is, we also use it, bhog, as a feast. You eat whatever you are served. Okay, so now he says, but that is done by my Maya. Maya is my power, my Shakti. That formation of the body, your suffering, your type of life, quality of life is determined by my Maya according to a certain set of rules. You are dependent on Maya. Maya rules over you. Maya makes you dance like a puppet on a string. But Maya is my servant. She doesn't rule me. I rule her. And accordingly, whenever I want to appear in a particular place, in a particular shape, in a particular kind of body, I ask her to design and develop that body for me. And that's how I take birth. So my birth is beyond Maya. Your birth is under Maya. That is a major difference. Whenever I want to leave, I order Maya to dissolve this body. That is why no traces of my body will remain. Some people foolishly say Ram was cremated here, Krishna was cremated here. It's all bullshit. Doesn't happen. He didn't leave any part to be cremated. He just vanished. Ram took Jal Samadhi. He immersed himself into the Saryu river in Guptar Ghat in Ayodhya. I have been to Ayodhya at least 4 times. These are wonderful places. If you are going as a tourist, it's a waste of time. But if you are going to do meditation, it's so wonderful. I went to the place where Bharat stayed for 14 years when Ram was in the forest. He said, I am not also going in to enter the city. So about 20 kilometers from the center of Ayodhya, there is a place called Nandigram. That is where Bharat stayed, meditated and all that. And Hanumanji was carrying this mountain, Dronegiri, with the Sanjeevani booty. And Bharat shot an arrow at him and he fell down. This is the place, Nandigram. There is a banyan tree under which we meditated. We reached around 3 in the afternoon. It was quite warm. And we didn't have our asana or any blanket or anything to sit on. So each of us took out our handkerchiefs and we sat on that and we meditated. My wife got a little angry. One of the persons who was with me, we were 3. He got angry. He said, how can you meditate in this condition? Open sky and, just under a tree and no asana, no blanket. I said, doesn't matter. I have come here. I'm not going without meditation. If you people want to move on, go ahead. So we meditated. But they said, now you must finish very quickly, 5 minutes to 10 minutes. Don't extend it beyond that. So I was conscious of this. Can you believe me? That place is so powerful. I had Jyoti Darshan in such adverse condition. And I was so reluctant to finish it, but I was afraid they will, go berserk and they will get so angry with me. So I finished it. And now both of them are saying, we were having Jyoti Darshan, why did you finish it so quickly? I said, how am I supposed to know you are also having Jyoti Darshan? Just imagine the power of that place. 14 years of meditation non-stop Bharat did there. We will all go to Ayodhya someday or the other, the beautiful mandir that has come up. I've seen the Australian team going there, so many players from West Indies. Keshav Maharaj is Hindu from West Indies. He went there and he was crying. It is such a powerful place. He was emotionally overcome. I've got the video. But more than that, you are not seeing just the glory. You need to sit there and go inside and see your Ram inside you, and that will be an achievement. I have gone to Hanumangadi, where Hanumanji used to stay while Raja Ram was ruling over Ayodhya. Hanumangadi used to be a cave. Now it is a huge mandir. It's like a tower. You have to climb up many stairs to reach that. I sang the Hanuman Chalisa in full volume. And even the Pandit said, even if Hanumanji is sleeping in the heavens, he will come down. These are the kinds of experiences that you should aim at, go for whenever you visit a pilgrimage place. Not the outer beauty. The outer beauty is absolutely mesmerizing, is absolutely beyond this world. Fine. But your journey is not outside, it is inside you. Go in. Don't go out. Okay. So I've said how God takes birth. We have understood that. Then he says, you, Arjun, are the same as I am. What is the difference? The difference is that you are wearing a body created by illusion. Maya is illusion. I am wearing a body which does not impact at all on my level of understanding my divinity. It does not diminish my divinity. Your body is more of a cage. Your body is more of a insulation from me. It takes you away from me. Why? Because your soul is impacted by your brain, which is impacted by your man, which is impacted by your sensory organs. Your eyes see a beautiful grand Ram Mandir and you are attracted so much to it that you forget that I am inside you. Your brain does not remind you that I am inside you. Your man says, "Arey, wow, what a beautiful place. Let me call up my wife and make a WhatsApp video call and show to her." That's what you get busy in. But if you go to Nandigram, for example, there's nothing. It's just a banyan tree with a brick platform on which you can sit. Nothing else. But I have been, every time I have gone to Ayodhya, and it's been 3, I have gone there and I have experienced delightful results. So much Jyoti I have seen all 3 times. So, you have to pick and choose what you want to do, where do you want to go. This is what God is saying also here. What is the difference between God's birth and the birth of a normal being? The difference is only in your perception, he says. By wearing this body, this Maya created body, elusive body, you are isolating yourself from the soul, which is also inside you. But this body does not allow you to be aware of the soul that is residing right inside your body. And that is why Mirabai used to sing a song, bhajan, written by Kabir Das ji, and in the modern day, sung by a lady in Bengal called Jyotika Mallik, I think she was. घूंघट के पट खोल रे तोहे पिया मिलेंगे घूंघट के पट खोल. घूंघट is veil. You drop the veil and people cannot perceive you well. So he says, you remove the veil. The veil is your body. It consists of 17 different layers, one after the other. What are these layers? 5 sensory organs, 5 work organs, 10. 5 different prans. Your mukhya pran is life breath, subdivides into 5. Pran, apan, vyan, udan, saman. Okay. So 5, 5, 5, 15. Chit and buddhi is the same thing. Man and buddhi is the same thing. And ahankar. Ahankar is ego. I am this body. I am the greatest creation that the Lord has ever done. I can walk, I can talk in so many languages, I can do this, I can play cricket, I can play tennis, I can dive inside the sea, I can fly like a bird, blah, 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 blah. So, these are the 17 layers of the veil that you are constantly wearing, which prevents you from seeing, perceiving, getting close to your own maker. And that is why when you win this 17 layered veil, you remove the 17 layered veil, then he appears to you. She sings, Ghungat, Ghungat is veil. Ghungat ke pat khol, open the folds of the veil and you will see your loved one, your God, your maker. घूंघट के पट खोल रे तोरे पिया मिलेंगे कटुक वचन मत बोल रे तोरे पिया मिलेंगे. Don't speak ill or angrily to others, because in every veil he resides. This lack of mooring, this lack of stable knowledge makes you look for joy, bliss, pleasure in the outside world. Oh, let's go to Andamans, it's a lovely place. Oh, let's go to Lakshadweep, it's even better. It's better than Maldives. Modi ji was there, it was so nice. What will you do there? It's just some sea and some land sticking out of the water, and it is beautiful, yes, no doubt. But more beautiful is the land inside you. So this is the reason forcing you to move away from your Lord. And when you are satiated by seeing, feeling, experiencing, eating, and whatever you want to do, dancing, marrying, when you are satiated, you are totally saturated, you still wonder, oh my God, what have I really achieved in this life? Have I achieved anything? Am I close to my Maker? No. The answer is no. And then you start wondering, oh my God, time is not there with me. Time is running out. What do? Then you pray to the Almighty and you say, please save me. And sometimes He comes, He appears to you. Sometimes He appears to you like a beautiful thought. Sometimes He appears to you in your dream. But most times He appears to you as your Guru. And the Guru is the best achievement that any sane person in this world can have. Take it from me. I am that lucky person. Though I insulted my Guru's Guru, I ignored him. So, I was talking to Murli Baba the other day and I said, Baba, sadhan nahi hota hai. I am not able to achieve what I want to do. He played a little bit of a twist of words on me and he said, आप लोग इतना बड़ा बड़ा साधक है, आप लोग का नहीं होगा तो हम लोग कहाँ जाएंगे? I said, Baba, you are playing with me, but the reality is that I am not able to achieve proper status in mind. Please help me. देखिए, he said, just see, if you have your Guru's blessings, you don't need anything else. This is Murli Baba talking to me. I said, Baba, तो इसीलिए तो आपसे आशीर्वाद मांग रहे हैं. नहीं, आपको आशीर्वाद मिला है. आपका गुरुदेव आप पे बहुत कृपा रखता है. आप गीता पाठ करते हैं, आप साधन करते हैं. What I'm trying to tell you is, all of them are the same. Their bodies are different, but their souls are the same. And their power is the same because it emanates from the same source. And they are extremely powerful. They can read your thoughts. They can do whatever they feel must be done by you. With His help, you have reached the Muladhar already. That is the bottom of your existence. You live totally in the world. Muladhar is earth. The element earth is Muladhar. So you live in that, which means you are completely surrounded. Your environment is completely earthly, material, everything. God does not exist there. Then when you get the feeling, I must achieve. So then you strive, you pray, you hope, and God appears in the shape of the God and He guides you up. You start moving up the spine. Ultimately you reach this Kutastha. That is your original home, from where you descended down. So you reach here and you stay there. No birth. No further birth. No further death and birth cycle. He who is established in the Kutastha cannot have any fear, because even death cannot reach there and touch you. But those who cannot, their pran and man and buddhi are constantly in turmoil. Am I doing the right thing? Am I going in the right direction? Am I doing anything to enhance my progress? No. You keep constantly worrying. But if you come to the Kutastha and stay there, salvation is imminent. You are going to get it. By staying there for a prolonged period of time, that is also called tapasya. As you understand, there are 7 levels of existence. The lowermost is the world where we live in. This is called Bhulok. Bhu is earth. Then there is Bhuvalok. Bhuvalok is ancestrals, where the ancestors live. And the third is Swargalok, which is called the heavens. This is where it is. Swargalok is in the Kutastha. Then there are three others which are also in the Kutastha. They are Janah, Maha, Tapahlok. Janahlok, Tapahlok, Mahalok. Tapalok is Tapalok. Tap is doing tapasya. Tapasya is doing penance. Penance is also doing meditation. It's the one and the same thing. And the final place of existence is Satyalok, also called Satyam. My flat which I used to live in Alipur is called Satyam. The building is called Satyam. So I can't hear you, Runadi.
Satyam Towers.
Yes, Satyam Tower. That's where I used to live. You are aware of that?
Very near to my place.
Okay. So I lived there from 92 till 2018. Then my family had expanded. I had 3 granddaughters, and we had to come to a different place. We are now in Bhawanipur. But that Satyam reminds me of this Satyam. This is the real abode. This is where you need to go to meet your Lord. Such people who have stayed here for a very long time lose all their material desires. Number 1. Number 2, they are free of all attachments, and thereby they are able to experience the soul. The soul is something which cannot be seen, cannot be heard, cannot be smelled, cannot be touched, cannot be tasted. And these are the 5 facilities that you have. Then how do you perceive Him? In my book, this is the question I have written in a chapter called The Soul. I said, what was his problem? Why he gave us 5 sensory organs to interact with the world? What was his problem? Why couldn't he give 1 to interact with him? That is the hypothesis I used. And I was not finding the right supporting Sanskrit shlok for that. So when I supposedly finished the book, so to say, then I prayed to my Guru. This is in Dhanbad. And I prayed to him and I said, Baba, I think I finished most of it, but some of it remains incomplete and I am not satisfied. So let us go. I am going to Mandar, which is Sanyal Baba's place. You please come with me. Baba had left about 9 years ago. So I said, you please come with me and on my behalf, pray to Sanyal Baba to give me the right information. Didi, with the Gita in my hand, I am telling you, it was such a wonderful thing to happen. I reached about 10:30, 11 at night. I did a little bit of meditation with my asan, changing my clothes, did my asan, and I went to sleep. In the morning, my normal routine in Mandar is I don't open my door. I don't allow anybody to come in. After I change my clothes after finishing all my daily chores, I sit on the asan. And it lasts for some 4 or 5 hours, whatever. As I sat down, it was as if a radio station has started broadcasting in my mind. I was getting all sorts of ideas. And so much so, I could not do any meditation at all. Excuse me. What do you do with these people? Potential fraud. My God. I'll switch it off. So there were stories about Shukdev Ji Maharaj, some of the others, lot of ideas I got. So instead of having the thought that I had finished my book, I was able to add 5-6 chapters more. I got up from the asan, I had my computer with me, I entered in short notes all the stories that were flooding my mind. And now since they were out of the way, I sat for sadhana, I finished it. Since I was late, the mandir door was closed after bhog. I could not go, so I took my bath, sat down outside, asked my attendant to give me a little bit of breakfast. As I was doing this, I thought of reaching out to my puja ka book. I'll show you that also. Hold on. This is the bag in which I carry my puja ka books. I just opened it and reached out into it, and I came up with this book. This is written by Sanyal Mahashay. Can you believe it? I said Jai Guru and I opened. And there it is. The answer to my question in the soul that I had written. Why he didn't give us any organ to interact with him? What was his problem? He could have very easily done. Why did he torture all the humans? Etc. etc. And I was so amazed at the way these gurus work. So beautiful. I've come for this purpose, and the first thing that happens after my meditation is I get the answer. So at around 4:35, I went to Mandir. I was talking with some scholars. These are Sanskrit scholars with Ved Vidyalaya. All of them are friendly with me. They have been seeing me for the last 25, 26 years as I have been there. And I can always call them up on the phone, and if I have a question, they answer those as much as they can. So then in the evening, when the Arati time was there, after the evening, after dark, I go to the mandir, and the person who plays the drums, he suddenly gets an urgent call from his home, and I'm standing next to him. He knows me well. So he said, "Aap drum bajayega?" I said, "Of course." So I sat down and I started playing the drum. You sit down. For all the other items, everybody else is standing. So as the drum is going on, I'm glancing around the mandir. And this shlok is written on one of the gates in cement and painted red. This very shlok. And I've been going there for 28 years and I never noticed. And it is there. So I went inside and I prostrated myself before Sanyal Baba and I said, "Baba, I don't know how to thank you. You've been so good to me. I live by your grace and I hope to continue with your grace." And I prayed a little bit. And there was this small flower which flew off his head and dropped on my head. My God! So, where is the logic in all this? Where is the science? Where is the technology? How do you understand these things? Where do they happen? How do they happen? I have no answers. God is beyond science. God is beyond human thoughts. God is above all of these. And that is proved so many times. I have probably about 2,000 such instances over the last 28 years with my guru, with Sanyal Baba, with Tiwari Baba, with this. So, talking about them is like an endless exercise. It's very pleasurable to me. It reminds me of the absolute bliss that I was in at that point of time. But another link to that story I will tell you, and then I'll finish and we'll move on with the Gita. So I wrote this shlok down. It is the conversation between Nachiketa and Yamaraj in Kathopanishad. Okay. The slok is Paranchikhani Vyatrinat Swayambho Tasmat Parang Pashyanti Na Antaratmana. God has created us with our sensory organs looking out, which is why we are always seeing the world. We are not seeing Him who is right inside, is sitting on his throne in the inside of us. The problem. Solution? Kaschit dhira pratyag atmana mekshate avrit chakshum amritat michhanna. Some patient people with their eyes closed, with the intention of achieving salvation, perceive me. Because they don't look out, they look inside. So here I was talking of one sensory organs to perceive God, and He has given us 10. All 10 can be used to perceive Him. You can hear Him, you can see Him, you can smell Him, you can taste Him, you can do all of these things. So God has not left you incomplete. He has given you an overabundance. This is what He told me. Okay, then I completed that and I finished that book, and the next day I was talking to one of these tutors in Ved Vidyalaya, and his name is Debu. So he said कि ब्राह्मण भोजन नहीं हुआ तो कैसे complete हुआ? All the Brahmans have to be fed. It was a jest. So I said होगा. So I got them over, I invited them for lunch in Mandar, and I told the cook, आप लौकी का खीर बनाइए. Lao. Pies made out of lao. So he said, Babu, to humko nahi malum hai, hum kaisa banayega. I never had any argument about what to cook, what to give as bhog. I just used to give him some money, and he used to do whatever bhog he wanted. Maybe get some rasgullas, get some kheer kadam, or prepare a kheer and give. This time I fought him. He said, banana hoga. So he said, हम लोग खराब हो जाएगा तो, ऐसे खराब होगा तो मेरा, आपका कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं. You don't worry about it. If it gets spoiled, I will be responsible. I will not blame you. I had my attendant. He is not a Brahman, so he cannot do that cooking there. But he can stand there and he can give instructions, which is what the solution ultimately was. My attendant was standing there and instructing the Brahman cooks who were making the kheer. 40 kilos of milk, equal amount of lao and sugar and whatever you want. The whole ashram was given this kheer after it was offered to Sanyal Mahasaya and Lahiri Mahasaya. And then these Brahmins came, invited Brahmins, 5 of them. And this fellow who had told me, Brahman Bhojan Karaiye, his name is Debu. He calls me sir, he respects me. I'm a little senior to him. So he said, ye kyun banaya aap? Why did you insist on making this kheer made of lao? And I said, that's a question I would like to ask you. I don't know. Something was compelling me to offer this only. I insisted on this. And Jadduda, the head cook, head chef if you like to call, said कि हम खराब कर देगा, it will go bad, if it gets spoiled, it's a waste of money. And I insisted, don't worry about it, if it goes bad, I am responsible. So yeah. Then he says, do you know why? I said, no. He says, Sanyal Mahasaya was very fond of this particular food. I said, how do you know? He said, I was a tiny boy, 5 years, 6 years, 7 years old. We used to wander around. Because there was a lady from Bhagalpur called Kirti Didi. Whenever Sanyal Baba wanted to eat this particular kheer, she would come from Bhagalpur and she would cook it for him. And the moment we saw Kirti Didi arrive in the campus, we knew today we are going to get kheer out of lao. So we would be moving around hoping to get some. And Sanyal Baba would call us, hey, I. And he would give us. So that is why this is directly linked to Sanyal Baba. So Sanyal Baba made me offer him lao ka kheer. Just imagine the power of these people. Such people who live in the Kutastha, who find their own house in Tapolok, he says, they become one with the soul. They stop working about the Shabda Sparsha Roop Rasgandh outside. They don't worry about it, they don't look for it, they don't accept it when it is available. And the being is then thereby so surprised. I was wandering around in the darkness of nothing. And look at this bright, beautiful space I'm staying in now. All his illusions are gone. And he understands that this is the right place to be in if I am to get out of the reach of Maya, which will make me dance like a puppet on a string the moment I come out of the Kutastha. There are 10 kinds of nad that you hear on your ear. See, anahat. Hat means impact. Anahat, no impact. And yet there is sound. That is why it is anahat. When you have contact with two things, it produces sound. Naturally, everybody can hear it. But nothing is producing this sound, and you hear it. That is called nad. There are 10 types of nad. It starts with the chirping of the crickets. Then there is a very small, tiny bell. That bell starts getting deeper and deeper and deeper, and until it reaches the intensity of a ghanta used for arti. The arti ghanta goes ting tong, ting tong, ting tong. Then you move on to the sound of the clouds, Meghnad, you can understand. And then you go to Singnad, you hear the tiger roar. What does the tiger say? How does it say? Ow! Ow! That's how the tiger roars. Oh, I've been to so many tiger resorts, so I'm a bit of an expert. I can predict when the tiger will move and where he'll go. He will not move in the full sunlight. He will always move early in the morning or late in the evening. Anyway, so this Singnad has got two significances. One significance is that it is a step higher in your journey to the Kutastha. Other significance is he is the mount of Devi Durga, Shakti. So if the Singh or the tiger is near, so is the Devi. So you keep your hopes alive and pray to her to bless you with her presence. That's Singnad. And the final one is Pranabnad, Omkar Dhvani. And when you hear that, you have arrived. Nad is here. It's like the crescent moon. Yes, the crescent moon between your brows. And just above that moon is the point, is the dot. That is where you have to enter. That is your Kutastha. That is where you can experience your soul. God appears there. He appears to you there. That is his birthplace, therefore. That is the place where you have to return. These are not my words. My words are the English translation of what Sanyal Bhasha has written. This is the place where everything is blank and yet it is complete in itself. The blankness does not signify emptiness. Blankness signifies completeness. Once you have reached that, you'll never be reborn again. You'll stay there because you will not want to come out. Last word that Sanyal Maharshi, the last sentence he says is, this is Vyom. Vyom is space. Space is Shiv. So he says, this is Maha Shiv, Mahadev. This is Vyom. we want to prostrate ourselves to this Mahashiv, Mahavyom, Mahashunya, Mahasthir place. Let us pray for that. I think let us pray for another day's hearing. It's been a good session. I don't know why Sapna is not there, Shankar is not there. Doesn't matter. To each his own. Shri Krishna Govinda Hare Murare He Ram Narayana Vasudeva Shri Guru Chaitanya He Atma Deva He Mat Durge Har Vishwanatha Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinam Sarve Santu Niramaya Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kaschid Dukha Bhag Bhavet Asato Ma Sadagamaya Asato is untruth, false. Let us move from the falsity of this world to the truth, which is only one, which is the Lord. Asato ma sadgamaya, tamaso ma jyotirgamaya. Let's move from the darkness to the light. Mrityor ma amritam gamaya, abhiravi mahidi. Let's move from death to immortality. Good night. Nice session today. I enjoyed it.
Jai Guru.
Jai Guru.
Me too. Jai Guru.
Jai Guru. Bye.